What is your greatest fear?
If I asked this question in a room full of 20-year-olds, the answers would be predictable. I fear being alone, I fear going broke, or I fear failing in my career. But if I ask this question to us, to those who have watched the decades pass, to those who have raised children and buried parents, the answer changes. The silence in the room gets heavier because our greatest fear isn't loneliness. It isn't poverty. Our greatest fear is forgetting. It is the silent, creeping terror of looking into your child's face and, for a split second, not finding their name in the library of your mind. It is the panic of being in the middle of a sentence you have started 1,000 times, and feeling the thought dissolve like smoke, leaving you empty, vulnerable, exposed. We call this getting old. Doctors, often with a sympathetic but dismissive shrug, call it age-related cognitive decline. And society accepts, with tragic resignation, that losing your mind is the inevitable price of living a long life. That the brain is just a machine that wears out, like an old set of tires. I am here today to tell you that this is a lie. And it is not a small lie. It is a fundamental error in how we understand the human body. What you are feeling, that brain fog, that slowness, those senior moments where you walk into a room and forget why, is not your hard drive getting full. It is not the inevitable wear and tear of the gears. What is happening is much simpler, and at the same time, much more urgent. Your brain isn't old. Your brain is starving. Welcome. Today, we are going to have a difficult, but necessary conversation. We are going to talk about what cutting-edge metabolic science has started calling type 3 diabetes. You won't hear about this on the 30-second evening news. And unfortunately, you might not even hear about it in your 15-minute routine checkup, because standard medicine treats the brain and the body as two separate continents. But they are not. Understanding this mechanism, the mechanism of energy flow to the brain, is the difference between spending your last 20 years in a rocking chair, staring into the void, dependent on others for your most basic needs, or spending them writing your memoirs, debating with your grandchildren, and maintaining sovereignty over your own life. Let's start at the beginning. For 50 years, we were told that Alzheimer's and dementia were, at their core, a genetic lottery, a roll of the dice. If your father had it, you were doomed. If your mother forgot, you would forget too. It was a sentence, a dark cloud waiting on the horizon. But new biochemistry tells a different story, an energy story. Imagine your brain as the most sophisticated engine in the universe. It weighs only 2% of your body, yet it consumes 20% of all the energy you produce. It is a hungry monster. It never shuts off. Even when you sleep, it is cleaning, organizing, dreaming, repairing. To run, this engine needs fuel. And the primary fuel, as we were taught in biology class, is glucose, blood sugar. Now pay close attention, because here is the key to everything. Having fuel in the tank does not mean the engine is running. You could be floating in a lake of gasoline, but if the spark plug is broken, or if the fuel line is clogged, the engine won't start. In your body, that spark plug, that fuel line manager, is a hormone called insulin. Insulin isn't just there to lower blood sugar, as the diabetes pamphlets say. Insulin is a transport hormone. It is a doorman. It travels through the blood, arrives at the door of the brain cell, the neuron, and rings the doorbell. When the neuron hears the bell, it opens the door. Glucose enters. The mitochondria, the power plants inside the cell, burn it. Energy is created. A thought happens. A memory is stored. But what happens if you ring the doorbell 1,000 times a day, every day for 40 years? What happens if you eat sugar for breakfast, a snack at 10 a.m., pasta for lunch, a cookie at 3 p.m., and potatoes for dinner? The doorman rings the bell constantly. Eventually, the neuron gets annoyed. It gets overwhelmed. To protect itself from the flood of sugar, it stops answering the door. It changes the locks. This is called insulin resistance. The doorman rings, but the neuron doesn't open. The door stays shut. The result is a terrifying biological paradox. Your blood is full of sugar. You are literally swimming in fuel, but your neurons are starving to death inside. They don't have the energy to form new memories. They don't have the energy to clean out metabolic waste. They start to shrink, to atrophy, not from age, but from starvation. This is type 3 diabetes. It is insulin resistance affecting the brain specifically. How do we know if this is happening to you? We don't need a spinal tap. The body gives signs. Whispers before the screams. Let's analyze the first major warning sign, one that most people mistake for a personality quirk. We have a specific, somewhat funny term for this: hangry. A mix of hungry and angry. You know the feeling. It's 11 a.m. You had breakfast at 8 o'clock. Suddenly, a switch flips. It's not just a rumble in your stomach. It is a shift in your soul. Your patience evaporates. A sudden irritation takes hold of your chest. Your hands might shake slightly. You feel a sense of impending doom or anxiety. You feel you must eat right now, or you might snap at your spouse or yell at the traffic. We have normalized this. We say, "Oh, I just have low blood sugar." But physiologically, this is a distress signal. This is a red alert from the brain. A healthy, metabolically flexible brain is like a hybrid car. If the gas, the sugar, runs out, it smoothly switches to the battery, the body fat, and keeps going. You feel physical hunger, yes, but your mood remains stable. Your mind stays clear. You can wait an hour for lunch without a crisis. But a brain resistant to insulin has lost that hybrid capability. It has forgotten how to burn fat. It only knows how to burn sugar. So when blood sugar drops slightly between meals, the brain panics. To the brain, it's not just snack time. It is a survival crisis. It thinks it is dying. It sends out stress signals, releasing adrenaline and cortisol, demanding you find glucose right now. And what do? We obey the panic. We grab a bagel. We eat a banana. We drink a soda. The relief is immediate. The lights come back on. The anxiety fades. And we think, good, I fixed it. But in reality, we just threw more wood on the fire of insulin resistance. We reinforced the vicious cycle. We taught the body that it never needs to access its fat reserves because we will always provide quick sugar. We made the doorman ring the bell even louder. Many of you listening right now are trapped in this cycle, running to the pantry to calm the brain every 3 hours, not knowing you are accelerating the very process of cognitive decline you fear most. To fix this, we have to look back. We have to understand why our modern lifestyle is so incompatible with our ancient biology. If you could go back in time 10,000 years or even just 100 years to your great-grandparents' farm, you would notice something interesting about how humans eat. They didn't have refrigerators stocked with snacks. They didn't have vending machines. They didn't have nutrition bars. Human life, for 99% of our history, was dictated by cycles: feast and famine, sun and moon. Our ancestors ate when they hunted or gathered, and then they stopped. They might go 12, 16, or even 24 hours without eating anything. If the human brain required constant sugar every 3 hours to function, our species would have gone extinct. The first hunter who got dizzy from hunger in front of a saber-toothed tiger would have been the last. So how did they survive? How did they maintain focus, cunning, and memory during days without food? They used the backup battery. They used fat. The human body was designed to be metabolically flexible. In the absence of food, the liver takes body fat and turns it into molecules called ketones. And ketones are a superfuel for the brain. They burn cleaner than sugar, generating less smoke, fewer free radicals, and providing more energy per unit. Your body was designed to run on fat for long periods. Even your parents or grandparents adhered to this unknowingly. Think about the 1950s. Breakfast was at 7. Lunch was at noon. Dinner was at 6. And then, the kitchen closed. There was no midnight snack. The body had 12 to 14 hours of rest every single night to lower insulin, burn off the day's sugar, and switch to fat burning. The modern mistake, the mistake that is costing us our memory, was the introduction of the idea of grazing. The advice to eat small meals frequently to keep your metabolism up. By doing this, we keep insulin perpetually high. We never give the body a chance to switch to fat-burning mode. We never give the brain a break from the sugar flood. We are forcing an engine designed to be a hybrid to run always in first gear, with the foot on the gas 24 hours a day for 60 years. Of course, the engine is going to fail. But the warning sign isn't just hunger or irritation before eating. There is another sign, perhaps even more dangerous, that happens after you eat. That moment when the lights go out. We ended the last segment talking about the dangers of constant eating. But now, I want you to pay attention to how you feel immediately after a standard modern meal. Let's say it's Sunday. You have a plate of pasta, maybe some garlic bread, perhaps a sweet dessert. 30 minutes later, what happens? A heavy, narcotic drowsiness takes over your body. Your eyelids feel like lead. Your motivation to move, to think, to do anything productive evaporates. You sink into the couch. In our culture, we joke about this. We call it the food coma. We pat our bellies and say, "I ate too well." But biologically, there is nothing well about this state. If you eat a meal and your energy crashes, that is not relaxation. That is a metabolic emergency. Here is what is happening inside the machine. When you flood your system with simple carbohydrates, your blood sugar spikes vertically. Your pancreas, sensing the danger of toxic sugar levels, floods the system with a massive wave of insulin to bring that sugar down. It overcompensates. The result is a roller coaster. First, a massive spike, followed immediately by a crash. But in the brain, something worse happens. That sudden spike in glucose causes an immediate burst of inflammation. It's like a power surge in a delicate computer. To protect itself from this inflammatory storm, the brain essentially powers down non-essential functions to conserve energy for survival. The first thing to go offline? The prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain responsible for focus, planning, complex thought, and willpower. So you sit in your chair, staring at the television, unable to muster the will to get up. You think you are just tired from age. But you aren't. You are inflamed. Your brain is reacting to the meal as if it were a mild poisoning. If this happens once a month at a wedding, fine. The body recovers. But if this happens every single day, at breakfast with your toast, at lunch with your sandwich, at dinner with your rice, that inflammation becomes chronic. It becomes the new normal. And a brain that is chronically inflamed is a brain that is degenerating. This chronic inflammation leads us to the most controversial, yet most important part of our conversation today. If you have read anything about Alzheimer's in the last 20 years, you have heard of amyloid plaques. For decades, doctors and researchers told us these sticky proteins were the villains. They clog up the brain, kill neurons, and cause memory loss. The entire pharmaceutical industry spent billions of dollars trying to invent a drug to scrub these plaques away, thinking that if they removed the plaque, they would cure the disease. They failed. Almost every single clinical trial targeting amyloid plaques has failed to reverse cognitive decline. Some even made it worse. Why? Because they were attacking the wrong target. The wise guardian view supported by new metabolic science is that the plaques are not the arsonist. They are the firefighters. Think about it this way. If you walk past a house fire, you will always see firefighters. If you assume the firefighters caused the fire because they are always there, you are making a fatal logical error. When your brain is constantly inflamed by high sugar and insulin resistance, the delicate tissue of the brain gets damaged. It's like a scratch on your skin inside your skull. What does your body do when you get scratched? It creates a scab. It creates a band-aid to seal the wound and protect it from infection while it heals. Amyloid beta is that band-aid. It is an antimicrobial peptide. The brain produces it to protect itself from the damage caused by inflammation, toxins, and insulin resistance. So, when we try to remove the plaques without fixing the diet, we are essentially ripping the scabs off a wound that hasn't healed. We are firing the firefighters while the house is still burning. The presence of plaque is a sign that your brain has been fighting a war to survive, a war against sugar. But before the plaques take over, there is a specific type of memory loss that serves as an early warning. We all forget where we put the keys. That is often just distraction. But anomia is different. Anomia is the loss of nouns. It is looking at a wristwatch, knowing exactly what it does, knowing you wear it on your wrist to tell time, but being unable to find the word watch. It is the sensation of a blank space where a word should be. You start saying things like, hand me the ... the thing. You know, the clicker for the TV, or you see an old friend, a person you have known for 20 years, and their name simply isn't there. Why does this happen first? Because the part of your brain responsible for retrieving these specific files, the hippocampus, is the most energy-demanding region of the brain. It is the canary in the coal mine. The hippocampus is extremely sensitive to insulin. When insulin resistance sets in, the hippocampus is the first to lose access to fuel. It starts to sputter. It's like a flashlight with dying batteries. It flickers. You know the name is there. You can feel the shape of it. But the energy required to pull it from the archives is missing. If you are noticing this happening more frequently, not just once a month, but daily, do not ignore it. Do not laugh it off as having a senior moment. It is a cry for fuel. So, how do we answer that cry? How do we fix the spark plug and get the energy flowing again? We move now to the protocol of safety. I know the word fasting sounds scary. It sounds like starvation, and for a senior, starving sounds dangerous. But I want you to replace that word in your mind with metabolic rest. If you broke your leg, would you walk on it every 3 hours? No, you would rest it to let it heal. Your insulin receptors are broken. They need rest. The most powerful tool to reverse insulin resistance in the brain is not a pill. It is time, specifically the time between your last meal of the day and your first meal of the next. I'm not asking you to do 3-day water fasts. I am asking for a 12 to 14-hour window of silence. Here's the day 1 protocol. Finish your dinner by 7 p.m. Make it a good dinner. Eat until you are full, and then close the kitchen. Put a sign on the fridge if you have to. No late-night crackers. No fruit while watching TV, just water or herbal tea. Then, do not eat breakfast until 8 o'clock or 9 a.m. the next morning. That's it. Why is this magic? Because at around the 12-hour mark, when insulin drops to its baseline, the body activates a process called autophagy. Autophagy literally means self-eating. It sounds bad, but it is beautiful. It is the brain's housekeeping service. Imagine a cleaning crew entering an office building at night. They can only work when the workers, the food, are gone. They look around for garbage-damaged proteins, old cellular parts, metabolic waste, and they recycle them. They polish the floors. They fix the broken windows. If you eat a cookie at 10 p.m., you turn the lights back on. The cleaning crew goes home. The garbage stays. By simply giving your body 14 hours of rest, you allow the brain to clean itself every single night. It is free. It is simple. But it requires discipline. Now, while we fix the diet with timing, we can use some tools to help force the stuck door open. Nature has provided us with compounds that act like a skeleton key for your cells. They mimic insulin. They help push glucose into the cell even if the insulin receptor is resistant. Tool A: Ceylon cinnamon. But not just any cinnamon. The stuff in the jar at the grocery store is usually cassia cinnamon, which can be toxic to the liver in high doses. You want Ceylon cinnamon. It's known as true cinnamon. Studies suggest that just half a teaspoon a day can improve insulin sensitivity significantly. Put it in your morning coffee or tea. It's a small biological hack that signals the neurons to wake up. Tool B: alpha-lipoic acid, or ALA. This is a potent antioxidant that exists in every cell, but our production declines with age. In Europe, this is a prescription treatment for diabetic neuropathy because it helps repair nerve damage. In the brain, it helps restore the insulin signaling pathway and reduces inflammation. For those over 60, a supplement of 300 to 600 milligrams taken with lunch can be a game changer for energy levels. These are the tools of addition. We add time, fasting, and we add support, spices. But sometimes, it is what you subtract that saves your life. We left off with the idea of subtraction. And there is one item in the standard healthy senior diet that needs to be subtracted immediately. It is a liquid assassin that hides in plain sight on the breakfast table. For 60 years, marketing campaigns have convinced us that a glass of orange juice is the essence of health. Vitamin C, they say, sunshine in a glass, they say. I want you to listen to me very carefully. For an insulin-resistant brain, fruit juice is metabolic poison. Let's look at the mechanics. When you eat an orange, you consume fiber. You chew. That fiber forms a gel in your gut, slowing down the absorption of sugar. It acts like a dam, releasing the sugar slowly drop by drop into your bloodstream. It is a safety net provided by nature. When you juice that orange, you strip away the fiber. You destroy the dam. You take the sugar of 6 oranges more sugar than a can of soda and concentrate it into a glass that you drink in 30 seconds. This hits your liver like a tsunami. Because fruit sugar is mostly fructose, it doesn't even raise your insulin immediately in the blood, it goes straight to the liver. The liver, overwhelmed, turns that fructose immediately into fat. This promotes fatty liver disease and systemic inflammation almost instantly. It is stealth sugar. And for the brain? This rapid spike causes a massive oxidative burst. It creates rust on your arteries and inflammation in your neurons. If you want to save your memory, stop drinking your fruit. Eat the fruit. Eat the apple with the skin. Eat the berries. But pour the juice down the sink? Water, black coffee, or tea, those are the drinks of longevity. Now, let's move from chemistry to mechanics. We often think of diabetes or insulin resistance as a problem of eating too much sugar. But there is another side to the equation: having nowhere to put the sugar. Think of glucose like luggage. Think of your muscles as the trunk of a car. If you have a large trunk, high muscle mass, you can put a lot of luggage, glucose, inside, and the car stays clean. You can eat a potato, and your muscles soak up the sugar to store as glycogen. But if you have a tiny trunk, low muscle mass, even a small bag won't fit. The luggage spills over into the back seat, onto the floor, and eventually out the windows. That spilling over is high blood sugar. That is what rots the brain. As we age, we naturally lose muscle. It's a condition called sarcopenia. This is catastrophic for the brain because muscle is the largest sponge for glucose in the body. The more muscle you have, the more insulin sensitive you are. Muscle is not vanity. Muscle is medicine. Now, I am not asking you to become a bodybuilder. I am not asking you to go to a gym full of 20-year-olds in tank tops. I am asking you to build a bigger trunk. We need to activate the largest muscles in your body: the legs, the quadriceps, and the glutes. The kitchen sink protocol. Every time you go into the kitchen to get water, use the counter for balance and do 5 to 10 squats. Simply sit back as if you are sitting in a chair and stand back up. If you can't do that, sit in a sturdy chair and stand up. Sit down, stand up. Do this 10 times. When you work these large muscles, a magical thing happens. They open their doors to glucose mechanically. They suck sugar out of the bloodstream without even needing insulin to help. They lower your blood sugar for you. You are using your legs to save your brain. Earlier, I promised a fuel of emergency for those whose brains are already struggling. If your neurons are deaf to insulin, they are starving. The door is locked. We need a back door. We need a fuel that doesn't need a doorman. That fuel exists. It is called MCT oil, or medium-chain triglycerides. This is a specific type of fat derived from coconut oil. But unlike a piece of steak fat that takes hours to digest and requires enzymes and bile, MCTs are unique. They are absorbed directly from the gut to the liver and are immediately converted into ketones. Ketones are the ghost fuel. They bypass the insulin blockade. They cross the blood-brain barrier and enter the neuron directly to generate ATP energy. It is like having a backup diesel generator for a hospital when the power grid goes down. The main line, the sugar, is cut, but the generator, the ketones, kicks in and the lights stay on. If you have senior moments, brain fog, or feel your memory slipping, try this. Start with 1 teaspoon of MCT oil in your morning coffee or tea. Warning: do not start with a tablespoon, or you will have digestive distress. Start small and build up. Within 20 minutes, many people report a sensation of the lights turning on. It isn't a stimulant buzz like caffeine. It is literally the sensation of brain cells finally getting a meal after years of starvation. Now we must tread carefully. But truthfully, we need to talk about your medicine cabinet. Many of you are on statins to lower cholesterol. I am not here to tell you to stop your medication. That is a conversation for your doctor. But I am here to tell you the metabolic cost of that medication so you can mitigate it. Statins work by blocking an enzyme in the liver to stop cholesterol production, but nature is efficient. That same pathway is used by your body to produce a molecule called coenzyme Q10, or COQ10. COQ10 is the spark plug of the mitochondria. It is essential for energy production in every cell, especially the heart and the brain. If you block COQ10, the engine sputters. You get fatigue, you get muscle pain, and predictably, you get brain fog. If you are taking a statin and you feel your memory slipping or your energy crashing, you must discuss supplementing with COQ10, specifically in the form of ubiquinol, which is the active form easier for seniors to absorb. You are effectively running a car while draining its oil. You need to put the oil back in. Furthermore, remember, the brain is the most cholesterol-rich organ in the body. It uses cholesterol to build synapses. Driving cholesterol too low in the elderly has been linked, in multiple studies, to an increase in cognitive decline. We need balance, not just low numbers. Finally, let's talk about the mineral of relaxation. We know magnesium is vital. It is involved in 300 biochemical reactions. But most magnesium supplements, like oxide or citrate, end up in your toilet or your muscles. They do not cross the blood-brain barrier efficiently. For type 3 diabetes, for a brain that is inflamed, anxious, and buzzing with stress, we need a specific transporter. We need magnesium L-threonate. This specific form was developed by researchers at MIT to penetrate the brain tissue. It helps to calm excitotoxicity, the overfiring of neurons that happens when they are stressed and starving. It helps rebuild the synaptic density that we lose with age. Taking this at night does two things. First, it helps the glymphatic system, the brain's cleaning cycle, work better during deep sleep. Second, it lowers the cortisol that spikes blood sugar in the morning, known as the dawn phenomenon. It is the final piece of the biochemical puzzle. And now we are ready for the final truth. The golden nugget that turns everything we know about healthy food on its head. We have arrived at the final truth. The piece of the puzzle that often causes the most resistance, because it goes against 40 years of government guidelines, magazine covers, and well-intentioned advice from your family doctor. We have been trained to look at a lipid panel, that sheet of paper with your blood work, and fear the number. If total cholesterol is over 200, panic sets in. We are told we are clogged. We are told we are a ticking time bomb. So what do? We obey. We cut the eggs. We switch to margarine or heart-healthy vegetable spreads. We eat skinless chicken breasts that taste like cardboard. We take the statin to crush the number down to 150. But for the aging brain, this fear is not just misplaced. It is potentially catastrophic. Here is the paradox that is shaking the foundations of modern neurology. Multiple large-scale studies, looking specifically at people over the age of 70, the exact demographic watching this video, have found something startling. Those with higher cholesterol levels often have better cognitive function, slower memory decline, and actually live longer than those with low cholesterol. How can this be possible? To understand this, we have to stop looking at the heart for a moment and look at the architecture of the brain. You must understand what your brain is made of. If you dehydrated the human brain, removed all the water, what is left is mostly fat. Specifically, it is about 60% fat. But it's not just any fat, it is cholesterol. In fact, the human brain contains 25% of all the cholesterol in your entire body. Think about that. This organ, which is only 2% of your weight, hoards a quarter of your body's cholesterol supply. Why? Because nature does not make mistakes of this magnitude. Cholesterol is the raw material used to build cell membranes. Every single neuron in your head has an outer shell, a skin called the lipid bilayer. This skin decides what gets in, nutrients, and what gets out, toxins. If you don't have enough cholesterol, that membrane becomes flimsy. It becomes leaky. The structural integrity of the neuron fails. Furthermore, cholesterol is the glue that holds your synapses together, the physical connections where memories are stored. When you try to recall your grandson's name, that electrical signal has to jump across a synapse. That jump requires a robust, cholesterol-rich infrastructure. When you starve a senior body of cholesterol or block it aggressively with medication to hit an arbitrary number on a chart, you are essentially depriving the construction crew of bricks. You are asking your brain to repair itself, to build new memories, to maintain its complex wiring, but you have cut off the supply of raw materials. The house cannot be repaired. The roof starts to leak. The walls crack. This is why we see brain fog as a common side effect of aggressive cholesterol lowering. Mal, I can hear the objection forming in your mind. But wise guardian, what about my heart? I don't want to die of a heart attack just to save my memory. This is the nuance that saves your life. The enemy of your arteries is not cholesterol itself. It is oxidized cholesterol. Imagine a tennis ball. A brand new tennis ball is fuzzy, round, and bounces well. It flows. This is healthy, native LDL cholesterol. It floats through your arteries, patching up holes, delivering nutrients. It is a friend. Now imagine that tennis ball has been set on fire and rolled through broken glass. It is now sticky, jagged, and dangerous. If you roll that through a pipe, it will get stuck. It will tear the lining. This is oxidized LDL. The question is, what sets the tennis ball on fire? What causes the oxidation? It isn't butter. It isn't egg yolks. The arsonists are sugar and vegetable oils. When you have high blood sugar, from bread, pasta, sweets, and high inflammation from processed seed oils like soybean, canola, or corn oil, that sugar binds to the cholesterol particle. This process is called glycation. It turns a helpful repair molecule into a sticky plaque builder. So the golden nugget is this: do not fear the egg yolk. The egg yolk contains choline, the very fuel your brain needs to make acetylcholine, the memory neurotransmitter. Do not fear the butter on your broccoli. Fear the donut. Fear the French fry cooked in rancid oil. Fear the low-fat yogurt that is packed with 20 grams of high-fructose corn syrup to replace the fat. If you cut the sugar and the processed carbs, your cholesterol stops being a weapon and goes back to being a building block. Eat like your grandmother did. She didn't measure macros. She didn't eat products from a box. She ate real fats, real proteins. She cooked with lard or butter. And she likely kept her wits about her until the end. We have covered the science. We have covered the history. But information without execution is just entertainment. I want to walk you through exactly what day one of your new life looks like. I want you to visualize this routine. It is simple, but it is strict. The morning. 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Wake up. Drink a large glass of water with a pinch of sea salt. Your brain is dehydrated from the night. The salt helps the water get inside the cells. The fast. Do not eat yet. This is your autophagy window. You are letting the cleaning crew finish their shift. The coffee protocol. Have your black coffee or tea. Add the Ceylon cinnamon we talked about. If you have the MCT oil, add 1 teaspoon. This sends a signal to your liver to start making ketones the brain fuel. Movement. Do your 10 chair squats. Just sit and stand. Activate the leg muscles to soak up any residual sugar. The first meal, 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. Break your fast with protein and fat. Do not start with toast or cereal. That is an insulin bomb. Start with eggs, or a piece of leftover chicken, or a salad with olive oil and sardines. Why? Because the first thing you put in your mouth dictates your blood sugar roller coaster for the rest of the day. If you start savory, you stay stable. The afternoon. 3 p.m. This is the danger zone. This is where you usually crash. Instead of a cookie, take your alpha-lipoic acid supplement. If your doctor approves, go for a 10-minute walk. The fresh air and movement will clear the post-meal fog better than sugar ever could. The last meal, 6:30 p.m. Eat a dinner rich in vegetables and healthy meats. If you need carbohydrates, choose slow ones like sweet potatoes or beans, not white bread. 7 p.m. The kitchen closes. This is the most important rule. Put a closed sign on the fridge if you have to. From this moment on, only water or herbal tea. You are preparing the body for the night shift of cleaning. Bedtime. 9:30 p.m. Take your magnesium L-threonate. Turn off the news. The stress of the world spikes cortisol, and cortisol spikes blood sugar even if you haven't eaten. Sleep knowing your brain is repairing itself. We have covered a lot of ground today. We redefined Alzheimer's not as a genetic curse that strikes randomly, but as a metabolic crisis type 3 diabetes that we can influence. We learned that the hunger and the brain fog are not personality flaws or just getting old. They are biological cries for fuel. We discovered that the solution lies in resting the system, fasting, fueling the backup generator, MCT oil, and building the mechanical sponge muscle. I know this can feel overwhelming. You might be sitting there thinking, is it too late for me? I am 70. I am 80. I have been eating sugar my whole life. Let me answer you with the certainty of biology. The body is incredibly forgiving. The human brain has a property called neuroplasticity. It has the ability to heal, to rewire, and to forge new connections until your very last breath. But it cannot build those connections out of thin air. It needs the bricks, cholesterol, and it needs the energy, ketones. You don't have to do everything I said today all at once. Start by pouring the juice down the sink. Start by waiting 12 hours between dinner and breakfast. Start by standing up from your chair 10 times. Do not accept the fading of the light. Do not accept that you must become a shadow of yourself, lost in the fog of forgotten names and faces. You have the tools now. You understand the mechanism. The fear of the unknown has been replaced by the power of strategy. Rage against the dying of the light with the most powerful weapon you have, your fork. You are the guardian of your own history. Keep your mind sharp so you can tell your story. This is the wise guardian. I will see you in the next protocol. The content presented in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am a narrator and researcher, not a doctor. The concepts of type 3 diabetes and metabolic psychiatry are emerging fields of study. While based on peer-reviewed research, they may conflict with standard guidelines. Always consult with your primary care physician, neurologist, or cardiologist before making significant changes to your diet, exercise routine, or medication regimen, especially if you're taking blood thinners, insulin, or statins. The use of supplements like MCT oil, alpha-lipoic acid, or magnesium L-threonate can interact with medications. Do not stop taking prescribed medication without professional supervision.